To remove your drive belt, you need to place a 14mm socket with a breaker bar on the auto tensioner to relieve the tension. Take a 14mm socket and a breaker bar, feed it down in here, place it over the auto tensioner, pull to the rear of the car to relieve the tension on the belt. It's got significant tension on it. Feed it off the top pulley. We'll release the tension on it so I can take the breaker bar out. I'm going to guide the belt off of the pulleys. Turn these tabs vertically to unlock them. Remove the engine cover. Before undoing the lines to the power steering pump, we're going to drain some fluid out of the power steering reservoir. I'm going to use this suction gun, but if you've got like a turkey baster at home, that will work too. And just make sure you dispose of this oil properly. I will reinstall the cap to the power steering reservoir so that nothing falls in there while we're working. I'm going to take some shop towels and cover the area under the pump. When we undo the lines, even though I've drained the fluid, some will spill out. So just use some shop rags to try to keep the fluid from going everywhere down the front of your engine. Additionally, place a drain pan under the vehicle for any power steering fluid that might spill. Remove the clamp from the low pressure hose by squeezing it. A pair of pliers, sliding it up the hose. Work it off the power steering pump. I'm going to take it and just feed it under here. Try to put it so it's like facing up. It doesn't pour fluid out. I'm going to remove the 2 bolts holding on the high pressure line. I'm going to try some rust penetrant on them. Before you remove the high pressure line, there is an O-ring on the high pressure line that needs to be replaced. It cannot be reused. These are a 10mm bolt. I'm using a 10mm socket and a 1/4" drive ratchet. You don't want to break them. Break one free, then break the other one free. They're loose, I can thread them out. Place these bolts aside so you don't lose them. Work this out of the power steering pump. Just wiggling it back and forth, pulling straight up. Some fluid is going to come out of this. This O-ring is the one that needs to be replaced. I'm just going to wrap a shop towel around here to prevent any dirt from getting in the hose. I'll place it right here. Let's get some tension to it. Just want to put it here so it doesn't get in my way. Remove the mounting bolts holding the power steering pump. There's one here on the back and one underneath. I'm going to use a 12mm socket. Break one free, go down and break the other free. Actually lift it up and slide the bolt out. Just gonna place it back down because I need to remove the rear one still. I'll hold on to the pump so it doesn't fall. loosens, I'm just gonna lift the pump out with the bolt in there. I'm going to pour out whatever power steering fluid is left in the pump into a proper disposal container. This is our old power steering pump from our vehicle. These, if they're going bad, will make a lot of noise. It could be leaking fluid. This is wet because we removed it and some fluid spilled out. There is also the seal that's in here from the high pressure line can sometimes go bad and you'll end up sucking in air. It'll make air bubbles in the power steering system. It'll make it hard to steer. There's also a seal at the end of this plastic tube on the low pressure side that can also fail and either leak or you'll get air bubbles in it. We can see on our new power steering pump from oneauto.com, it does not come with the pulley. This will have to be transferred over. It does come with a new plastic low pressure side and there is a new O-ring inside here. It's already installed. Before you put on your hose, make sure you remove this cap from the low pressure side. This is to keep debris during shipping from going inside the pump. I'm gonna leave it on while we install it so that nothing falls in there. And I'll take it off right before I put the hose on. Same thing here, this cap is just for shipping. It keeps debris from going inside the pump. You can leave it on until you're ready to install the pump. So this should work great and fit great in your car. With the power steering pump in a bench vise, taking some cardboard from our box to protect it from the jaws of the vise. Take some rust penetrant, spray it on the end of this nut. If you don't have a vise, while this is still bolted into the car, you could try removing it, but it might be very difficult. I'm going to use a pry bar to brace the pulley from moving. Take a 19 millimeter. Try to remove it. Take that off now. This pulley is pressed onto splines, but it came off pretty easily. All right, I'll take our old pulley and we'll place it on our new pump. It does only go one way. This is the outside, this is the inside, so we want to make sure we put it like this. It's going to fit over those keyways. Slide down, get the nut on here and start it. Take my breaker bar again, brace the pulley. Find a good spot to brace it against. 19 millimeter socket. Just tighten it down. Just till you feel it get tight. Installing the new pump. I still have our protective caps installed so that nothing falls in there while we're installing it. Take our bolts, thread them in by hand, install the rear bolt. Torque these bolts to 16 foot-pounds. Before I put the low pressure hose on, I'm going to use this big funnel and just pour some genuine Honda power steering fluid down in here. Just a tiny bit to prime the pump before I start it. Put a towel under this as I remove it. It doesn't take much fluid. So I've also removed this cap, and that allowed some of the fluid to pour down into the pump. Now I'm going to put the low pressure hose on. Get it back out of the way. Get back onto the other hoses. Slide it over. Take our needle nose pliers, squeeze this together, place it back. It's got a little groove where it was originally. To replace the seal on the high pressure line, take a small pick, push the O-ring out of the groove. This one's pretty flattened out. There's no debris on there. Use one finger to push it into the groove and just sort of stretch it over and roll it up in. Sure it's seated all the way around in the groove. See, that one's nice and rounded and squishy. And this one's real dried out and hard. Had some fluid spill into the bolt hole here. I'm just gonna sop it out so I'm not trying to work against that power steering fluid while I tighten that bolt up. Place the high pressure line into the power steering pump. Some fluid is probably going to squeeze out. It's seated. Reinstall our bolts. Torque these bolts to 8 foot-pounds. Brake parts cleaner to clean up any spilled power steering fluid. Take out all of your shop towels. Reinstall the engine cover. It has 2 pins at the rear that fit in these 2 rubber grommets. These are the 3 pins at the front that you twist. Sit these in the rear pins first. Adjust it to get these into the locking holes for them. Just turn them. And the cover is secure. Feed the drive belt around the crank pulley, making sure it's seated in the grooves, over and around the AC compressor pulley. I find it's easier to route it up into the alternator pulley, then pull it over the idler pulley, so the smooth side is on the idler pulley. Feed the rest of the belt up to the power steering pulley. Then use your breaker bar with 14mm socket to unload the tensioner by pushing to the rear of the vehicle and slide the belt onto the power steering pulley. Refill your power steering fluid reservoir to the full mark with fresh power steering fluid. I'm going to wrap a rag around the power steering bottle. I will start the vehicle with the cap off so that we can bleed the power steering system. Some of it may bubble up and out, so I have the rag here to try to catch any that might spill. Just be careful, there's going to be spinning belts here, so you don't have a rag stuffed over here. Just keep it off to the side. Start the vehicle. Work the steering wheel back and forth, slowly and evenly, pushing the bubbles out of the system. Turn it lock to lock. After you've done that a couple times, shut it off and go check your fluid level. Repeat these steps as necessary, keeping the fluid level at the full mark until the system is bled. When the system is bled, wipe up any excess fluid that may have spilled and replace your power steering reservoir cap.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.